In this video, I'm going to show you how to mix a classic house track that always gets huge reactions from the crowd. I play it in pretty much all of my live DJ sets and it never fails to get everybody singing and pick the energy up on the dance floor. It's a track that I believe every DJ should be playing when they are DJing to a general crowd in places such as clubs, bars or at parties. But it's not the easiest track to mix in and mix out and to get sounding right. I have tried many different ways to mix this track in and mix it out to make sure it sounds the best when DJing live, and in this video I'm going to show you the way that I now mix this track in to make sure that we get the best impact in our DJ sets. So you might be thinking, what track is it? Let's see if you recognize it yourself. Let's have a listen. My name is Jack and I've been a professional international DJ for over 15 years, and I have also taught over 20,000 people how to DJ through my online DJ courses that you can check out in the link in the description. Now the introduction's out of the way, let's get into the video and show you how to mix this classic house track. So the track that I quickly showed you is a track called Show Me Love by Robin S. Now this is the original version of the track that I like using, so it should be fairly easy for you to find on DJ streaming platforms or just any streaming platform in general. When I DJ live, I personally like to use as many original versions of tracks as possible. This is because I DJ to a general audience in places such as clubs, and I find that the original versions of songs get better reactions from the crowds rather than remixes. I think that is personally because they are more familiar with the original versions of songs and they recognize them more. Now the interesting thing about this track at the start of it is only 24 beats before that classic organ bass comes in. So have a listen to the start of this track and count along with me and you can hear that it's 24 beats before that organ bass comes in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Alright, so as you can hear then, it's 24 beats. So I'm going to wind this back and just going to set a hot cue just here, just so we can see where that organ bass comes in on the track, because sometimes it's harder to see where certain sounds come in on the track just by looking at the waveform. So now if I press this hot cue, it's going to be the start of that organ bass. But I'm not actually going to use it to press, it's just a visual marker so we can see that point in the track. That is one of the main ways that I use hot cues when I'm DJing, is just as visual markers, as it's a lot easier to see and it lets me know and gives me information about the track just by glancing at the waveform. Now the reason why the 24 beats at the start of the track before the organ bass comes in is different is because usually tracks are built on 32 beat structures, and these 32 beat structures are called phrases. So generally in a track every 32 beats there will be a change in the track. This is where sounds are added or taken away, or the lyrics start a new verse or chorus. So if you have a listen to this track now, when the vocals start, we're going to count along and you'll hear the vocals start again and the melody kind of reset every 32 beats. And you'll also hear a cymbal crash. That's like a tsh from a cymbal on a drum kit. That's just to signify to us that it's the start of a new phrase and a new 32 beat block. So let's have a listen and count along. All right, from the vocals. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32. Alright, so hopefully you can hear then the track is structured in 32 beat blocks. This is the same for most modern day dance music and even pop music, hip hop and R&B music. Most modern day music is structured in 32 beat blocks called phrases. There can be shorter phrases and irregular phrases, such as we can see at the start of this track, it's 24 beats, which is a very unique number, but most of the time it is 32 beat blocks. Which because this track has a 24 beat intro before the organ bass comes in, it can make it difficult to time our mixes when DJing. So for example, what I'm going to do is drag a track up on the left hand side, and what I've done here is I've used 2 blue hot cues just to highlight where I generally like to mix out of this track. These 2 blue hot cues are 32 beats apart. So this is highlighting a phrase for me, the last phrase where I want to mix out into another track. So if you just have a listen to where the second hot cue comes in out of the two, that is generally where I want to be mixed out of this track, and you'll hear it start a new phrase and a new section of the track. So you can hear the change there, and that is generally where I want to be mixed out of this track into a new track. The best place to mix out of tracks is where the audience naturally expect to change. We can hear a change there, and we'll transition into the new track. Now, normally when you're DJing, you want to press play on the new track at the start of a phrase. That is so you can line your phrases up and so they match, and the structures of the tracks match, and it sounds natural to the audience. But if we do that with this track, Show Me Love, so I'm going to take the track on the right-hand side back to the start, and if I press play at the start of the phrase where the first blue hot cue is, you'll see that the organ bass comes in a little bit too early, 8 beats too early, and that'll look like this. Press play there, fade it in, and you can see the organ bass comes in too early. Alright, now even though the vocals came in at a really good point then, and that sounded good, the organ bass overlapped with the other track and clashed. Didn't sound great at that point. I personally think that organ bass is a really significant point in this track, gets a good reaction from the crowd, and it should be played by itself after you've mixed out and echoed out of the other track. So one way around this is we can just wait 8 beats before we press play, and that will look like this. So let me do that transition again, and this time we're just going to wait 8 beats, and you should see that the hot cues now line up. Alright, 8 beats. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Alright, hopefully you'll agree there that that is a lot smoother transition. The organ bass comes in by itself, it doesn't clash with the other track, and it gives the vocals more time and room to breathe when they come in as well. But it's not the easiest thing to do to remember every time to wait 8 beats. Now, if you're DJing on the fly and you don't have any hot cues set up like I do on this track on the left, it's hard sometimes to know when to press play. So one thing that I like to do is to set an 8-beat loop just before the organ bass comes in. So that would look like this. So let me wind this track forward. So just here where the kick drum comes in is 8 beats before the organ bass. So I'm going to set an 8-beat loop just here. Save this in the hot cue bank just by clicking the hot cue there, or you can press the hot cue on your performance pads. And now if I press this hot cue, it'll trigger that 8-beat loop. Let's have a listen. And you'll hear it keep looping. Now we can use this loop as an intro to mix it in, and we can take as long as we like. So we can be mixing it in, and it sounds like a complete loop. And then when we're ready, we can exit the loop and go straight into the organ bass. So now we can start that loop in phrase, take our time to mix it in, and then exit the loop when the hot cues line up, which would sound like this. So now when it gets to the first blue hot cue, I start the loop, and when the green hot cue matches the second blue hot cue, exit the loop. So that is personally how I do it when I DJ live. I found that the easiest way to time this track and make sure it sounds good every single transition. Now, the reason why I wanted to show you the different options and really talk you through the process of how I've come up with this is so that then you can apply this solution and this technique to other tracks that you might find have irregular intros as well. Now, if your intro is 32 beats long, you don't really need to do this. You can just line up your phrases and it should time right. But I want to talk you through the process and the reasons why I set the 8-beat loop in that point, rather than just telling you set an 8-beat loop here and mix out this way and not understanding the principles and the reasons why. Alright, so that is how you mix the track in, but how do we mix the track out? Now, just like with the track on the left hand side, I don't always let every song play to the end. Now, often I play at peak time in clubs, and this for me is a peak time track. So when the dance floor is the busiest, this track really goes down well. Now, at that time, people often don't want to hear tracks in full. They can drag out a little bit too long, and after hearing the same chorus 3-4 times, it loses its momentum. So one thing I like to do is mix out early in the track and not leave it all the way to the end. So where I mix out this track is after the first chorus. So once a chorus has happened, which is the main part of the track, and it goes into the next verse and the energy drops down, I like to mix out the track just at that point and mix the next track in. So let's have a listen to where the chorus is on this track. So this is the chorus. Got to show me. Just here. So it has like a little bit of an 8-beat break. This track is quite irregular, but this is the end of the chorus. So what I'm going to do is set a hot cue just here as a visual marker to show me this is the end of the chorus. Again, I like to use hot cues as visual markers when I DJ. Makes it a lot easier when DJing live to look at the screen and know where your key points in the tracks are. Then from here, what I'm going to do is beat jump backwards 32 beats. So I'm going to go to beat jump, and this 32 beat value here, which as we now know is one phrase, and how tracks are generally structured, I'm going to jump to the left 32 beats, and that should usually take me to the start of the chorus. I'm going to set a hot cue just here, and at this point in the track sounds like this. Alright, so if it doesn't take to the start of the chorus, it will take you one phrase before, which is in that 32 beat structure. I like to colour my exit points blue, so you can just right click or secondary click on your hot cue and you can change the colour and also add comments. So I'm going to put mine as blue. That just signifies to me that this is an exit point. And then what we can do is mix out the track at this point. Now the track, funnily enough, on the left hand side is very similar to the track on the right. I have a loop set up at the start of it, but it's a 16 beat loop. But I'm going to use the same principles as I've shown you in the last mix to do the transition. So have a watch and you should now understand what I'm doing with these tracks. So I'm going to start the loop. Alright, so a little bit late on the echo then, but you get the idea. I was using the loop to bring the track in just before the significant part of the track started, and then exit the loop at the end of the chorus and transition fully over into the next track. This for me is one of the best ways I've found to keep the momentum going on dance floors when DJing at peak time in places such as clubs, bars and at parties. Going from the chorus of one track straight into the main part of the next track just keeps people high energy and keeps the momentum going on the dance floor. Now you might not want to mix out the track so early. So what you would do is just follow the same principles again and find the end of the next chorus, which I think is around here. Alright, just there is the start of a phrase, and at the end of the chorus, I'm going to set a hot cue just here, go back to beat jump to the left 32 beats, which is one phrase, set another hot cue here, colour them blue. I think you're picking up on the pattern now. And then you can mix out at this point. Now what I like to do when I plan and prepare my tracks for DJing live is set multiple mix out points just like this. So then when I'm DJing, I can make a decision at that time whether the track's going down really well, I can leave it playing longer, or if it loses momentum, I can mix out in the middle of the track and keep that momentum going on the dance floor. So there you have it. That is how I mix the track Show Me Love by Robin S, and a way that I would recommend you trying out as well, and hopefully it'll help you when DJing to help you have smooth sounding transitions with this track. And I also think that everybody should be using this track when DJing live to a general audience. Thanks for watching. I hope to see you again in the future. Bye for now.